what a strange object. What is that? Well, you can actually see straight through it, so... Spoilers! There's a kind of mystery arch there. An arch of triumph. Which is a bit disappointing, in a way. I mean, obviously, with it not being covered too well, you can see that it's really quite miniature, you know, compared to things like Nelson's Column. It's really quite miniature. It's 2/3 of the size of the actual arch that it's based upon. Of course, what should have been here is an arch that was 48 feet high, which would have been really impressive. Unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, the arch of the Temple of Baal, the satanic temple of Palmyra, was curbed, presumably, because it's highly offensive to religious groups. It seems that the simultaneous, I was going to say erections, not a good thing to say, the simultaneous putting up of two arches, one in Trafalgar Square, one in Times Square, was put on hold, presumably after they had already built these two massive 48-foot arches to the Temple of the Devil. And they had to curb it because of the, I think it was the Christian religious right in America, in the US, putting massive pressure upon Harvard University, which tells us the fact that they, you know, curbed it, tells us essentially that Harvard University receives a good dose of funding from the religious Christian right in the US. That's something we can derive from the evidence. And of course, after wasting a lot of money making two ginormous demonic arches, which were then curbed and put in a dusty cupboard somewhere, they obviously made a rather cheap alternative, and there's only one of them, which is going to be here first in Trafalgar Square, and then it's going to be taken to New York. It is actually going to go to Times Square, that little arch over there, and then eventually, apparently, it's going to go to Syria, where the original arch was blown up by ISIS, or those proclaiming to be ISIS. I wonder who paid for the C4. Obviously, there's lots of like security people guarding gates and stuff. There's lots of bods, you know, men with beards and spanners and screwdrivers. You know, men with beards. You know, yeah, impressive beards, who are obviously planning a massive event here today. But as usual, I'm here, you know, super early, and you know, in the spirit of earliness, I actually came down here yesterday before anything was built, just to have a look, expecting it to be boring, but actually, weirdly enough, it was mildly exciting because of what was going on in the sky.
Security guys.
Look how cool the security guards are, kids. In the spirit of being here nice and early, it's like maybe just 25 hours before the exhibition opens up for this arch thing. And obviously there's nothing here right now, other than a lot of police officers also standing around. And this guy obviously, you know, making good friends with them, maybe adding them on Facebook, because the police really like Facebook. Plus there's people in yellow jackets, you know, putting out the, I guess the platform that the arch is going to be standing in, because the last thing we want is, you know, Trafalgar Square to be damaged by some kind of miserable arch. And if you're wondering why the policeman, I know, if you noticed at the beginning, the policeman was looking up, and also there's a few guys here also looking up. What are they looking up at? Well, I don't know what's going on, but at the top of Nelson's Column, there's some dudes I guess they're putting in some kind of I don't know, maybe a big lamp to shine on it. I don't know. Obviously, you know, I'm wearing a shirt, which means I'm at work, which means I don't really have much time down here, so I'm here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I might be able to come back possibly a little bit later on when maybe part of the arch is here. But I'd certainly like to see the truck turning up and bits of stone, you know, being lifted off it with a you know, some kind of big piece of machinery. But let's see if we can get a shot of these guys coming off the column. Well, that goes to show how much I know. Just bumped into someone who said, "Oh, I like your videos, dude." And I asked him what's going on here. He said, "Oh, it's Greenpeace." So Greenpeace is up there, hence all the police officers here. Nothing to do with the arch at all, but you know, I guess quite an active day in Trafalgar Square, and they're coming down. So there you go, Nelson wearing a gas mask because of air pollution, you know, which is cool. You know, this is the crowd that is formed of ordinary folks. This is the crowd of media who are still turning up with their big lenses. Look at that. I mean, that guy could be standing like all the way down the road there, to be honest. He doesn't need to be up here, but... And presumably, these guys, once they put their ropes away, going to be bundled into a van. I guess this van here. Well, I don't think I'll get to see the van turning up. Everything about Nelson's column is now quiet, apart from the police over there talking to various other people, discussing how on earth they're gonna get that off. But yeah, hopefully I'll be down here a bit later on to check up on things. Oh dear. I seem to spend most of my lunch hours now just murdering it around on foot, trying to get to places in time. I was a bit worried that they would have finished it by the time I get down. I was here at what, 10 o'clock? Was it 10 o'clock? No, it was about 9 o'clock. It's now 2:30. And, God. I mean, spoiler alert, but holy shit. I mean, I don't know how the colour is coming out on the film, but holy crap, it's quite loud. You know? Oh, by the way, can you see any antisocial behaviour around here anywhere? Just let me know if you spot any antisocial behaviour while this is going on. Won't you? Person, little spy in a bowler hat. You can't miss them. It's like anything, isn't it? Once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. God, this is loud. As in the colour. The colour of it. Is it coming out? I mean... to me, I'm no expert on this, but is that the colour of the original? I don't know. It is apparently, I don't know. There you go, look, with Camper House in the background. And there are sort of chunks of it missing and everything, which is all very authentic. But yeah, obviously they're going to finish it today, and then tomorrow they're going to be doing the unveiling. But I'll stick around and film them finishing to build it, and then I guess we'll go to the unveiling. A gaggle, not just of geese, or ducks, but of the press, you might see, which I'm about to go and wedge myself into, because before too long, a jolly old man called Boris Johnson is going to be down to unveil this object. So I wanted to give you a bit of context before, you know, the man with the hair comes down. The mayor with the hair, before he comes down, I wanted to share with you, just in case you haven't seen it, the press release that he gave associated with this arch before anything started to be built. And in order to do this I need to put my camera down, so I'm just going to whack it over here, maybe over here, because the press release is very, very enlightening. This is where the film starts to get really unprofessional. So I whack that there, and just hope that nobody steals it. And I sort of squat, and I read from my phone. So, here we go. Brace yourselves for this. You may want to strap yourself in. And it's very bright, so I can't really see it. Daesh and other... and this is a quotation, okay? Daesh and other terrorist organisations seek to destroy democracy and obliterate history through the appalling acts of terrorism and murder they commit around the world. I'm very proud that the Institute of Digital Archaeology, which is a partnership between Harvard University, Oxford University, and the Museum of the Future in Dubai, who are the money bags, by the way, the Institute of Digital Archaeology is bringing the first monumental scale, I think this is in reference to the old one that was planned, reconstruction of the Triumphal Arch to London in a stand against violence and in the quest to share the experience of this irreplaceable artefact. Irreplaceable? They seem to have replaced it pretty well. Anyway, to all mankind, and it's imperative that we strive to safeguard our common heritage. Boris Johnson, Mayor of London. Now the reason I wanted to share that with you is because it would be good to see how it possibly differs from what he said what he will say when he unveils it, whether he mentions terrorism, whether he mentions defiance to ISIS, which is essentially what he's talking about, because it's fairly illuminating to realise that this, given Boris Johnson's statements, is in fact a piece of war propaganda to polarise the minds of the innocent and possibly the unknowing to resistance against our immortal and imaginary enemy called the Islamic State. It is a piece of scientific war propaganda. Of course, it's perfectly natural when we hear about the destruction of archaeological sites in the Middle East to get instantly upset. I mean, when I first read about the destruction of Palmyra, I felt really upset, really angry, and then I started to analyse my thoughts, and I thought, I feel like angry against this enemy that I'm told exists, yet I've never actually come across this archaeological site before in my entire life. I just read about it, read a paragraph, and I was told in this paragraph that the site exists, it's very important, and it's been destroyed by a group called this. And that brought about in my mind a very strong emotion similar to what one would experience if you took part in the 2 Minutes Hate in 1984. It polarised my mind to the hatred of a specific designed enemy, and therefore I found my own emotions highly suspicious, and that's why, of course, I'm down here making this film about this monumental digital archaeological piece of scientific propaganda. So let's see what the old man has to say.
I've green-lighted many extraordinary buildings in London over the last 8 years, but none of them I venture to think like any disrespect to modern architecture. None of them, I think you all agree, is going to be more beautiful than the arch when we see it. And none of them, by the way, has provoked such a storm of protest, ignorant protest, from some people who thought it was going to be part of the temple of Baal. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to reassure you it is not the temple of Baal, and indeed I want to reassure any disappointed Baal worshippers in London, of whom I'm sure there are a handful at least, that there remain, of course, many multi-faith facilities for your use, where you can go about your devotions in a lawful way. But you're not going to do it here, because this is an arch of... Wait, hold your horses. This is an arch of triumph. This is an arch of triumph, and in many ways it is an arch of triumph of technology and determination. Because we're here today in solidarity with the people of Syria, because one day that terrible conflict is going to come to an end, and the world will be able to travel again to Syria and see the amazing historical and archaeological riches of that country. And we all know that Syria's future, don't let it fall down, Syria's future depends on the conservation and the protection of Syria's past. And we're here in celebration, Roger, everybody, Your Highness, Your Excellency, we're here in celebration of the Institute of Digital Archaeology and all they've accomplished. And I really do congratulate them on what they've done. And finally, we're here in a spirit of defiance. Defiance of the barbarians who destroyed the original of this arch, as they've destroyed so many other monuments and relics in Syria and in the Middle East. And in Palmyra. For 2,000 years, Palmyra stood in the desert. For 2,000 years, warriors, generals, conquerors have come and gone. All of them have brought their languages and their cultures and their religions and their deities. And each succeeding generation has found something to admire in the inheritance when they arrived. And the temples of Mesopotamian divinities became Greek temples, and then Roman temples, and then churches, and then mosques. And in all that time, they admired that arch. And no one was so savage and so nihilistic and so pitifully inadequate as to wish to destroy it. until Daesh came along, the so-called Islamic State. And that's why I'm so proud today to see this arch erected here in London. Congratulations to the Institute of Digital Archaeology. How many digits do you think Daesh deserve? I think 2 digits to Daesh from the Institute of Archaeology and the Institute from London, folks. Congratulations everyone. Let's hope this is the beginning of a great international effort, not just to bring peace to Syria, but to restore the wonders of Syrian heritage. And it is with great, great pleasure, therefore, that I hereby unveil the oldest new structure in the history of this city. Ladies and gentlemen, the Triumphal Arch of Palmyra. 3, 2, 1.
So I don't know if you could see that. I wasn't talking about the 2 women and the baby, but the illustration of the arch to the Temple of Baal and the name or the word gateway underneath it, which is the name of their cultural educational program to enter primary and secondary schools in the UK and in the Middle East to spread their message about the shared history between the two.
Are you vlogging?
Yeah, I'm busy, thank you. Yeah, the shared history, as in the history of the Roman Empire. Okay, but it seems a little bit propagandistic. I mean, knitting 2 far sides of the planet together, talking about a shared history, sounds a little bit like an educational propaganda pathway or gateway to globalism to me. And the fact that their whole branding for their educational program is the gateway to the Temple of Baal really sells the lie of what Boris Johnson just said, kind of making a whole joke as if there was never really a plan to build a big gateway to the devil, or 2 massive identical gateways to the devil, one in London, one in New York, which of course was exactly the plan which he lied about. But then, you know, there was a bit of music playing earlier on where they were playing an instrument up on stage called a lyre. So in a way this whole event is themed upon lying or liars up on stage.
But he is saying to me that he wants me.
He said let's have a look at this, I guess, while we're here. While we're here, should we actually have a look at it? Okay. It's quite weird. I mean, I already edited the stuff that I filmed yesterday, and I can promise you the actual colour of this arch is not coming out on the film. I can guess only because some of the reflection is in sort of UV. It kind of works a little bit like a UV jacket, like a high visibility jacket. It doesn't really come out on film, but that thing is zinging out some kind of spicy colour into the atmosphere. It's very, very, very vibrant, loud, piercing, acidic. it's worrying. You know, sticking 2 fingers or 2 digits up to Daesh is what Boris Johnson said. It's really, really worrying because, in a way, if you say that they built this in defiance of ISIS and you're sticking 2 fingers up in it, it's almost like you're challenging them. You're saying, ISIS, Daesh, you destroyed the original, just now come and try and destroy this one. I challenge you. So in a lot of ways, this arch being here is dangerous. It is a danger to the general public. It is quite obviously educational, and it's educational propaganda, not just for children at school in England and the Middle East, talking of which. Golden liar. You wanted me to, like, doorstep him like I was we are changed. Don't want to make a dick of myself. Well, it's been a very weird day. I can't work this out. I'm going to have to watch back exactly what was said in those speeches. Probably watch it 6 times before I can work it out. All I know is that big zingy golden arch unveiled by the big zingy golden man is possibly a bit of a danger to society, and thank God it's only there for 2 days.